now we're off to see Peter Massanis, who is Public Relations Manager at City Hall in our next Get to Know Your City series. I'm here today with Peter Massanis, who is the City of Rogers Public Relations Manager. Hi.
Hi, how are you?
And he's going to talk to us a little bit about the City of Rogers. Okay, so we're in the city building. What all is housed here?
This is City Hall. I mean, a lot of people will come here to meet their first city needs. I mean, it's kind of the first building you think of if, I got something I need to address with the city. So departments that are housed here in the city, obviously you have the mayor's office that's here in the city. We have our legal department, community development across the street. You have risk reduction. They're pretty much in City Hall. I mean, they're just across the street. And a lot of people that are doing business here are kind of going back and forth. We have our finance and HR department here. IT is also here. And I think that covers everybody.
Okay. Yeah. So if I needed a building permit for this in the City of Rogers, do I come here?
Absolutely. This is a great place to start. Like I mentioned, our risk reductions across the street, they're technically the building permit folks over there.
What about garage sale?
Yeah. So, I mean, if you're getting a garage sale, you're going to come to City Hall here right at the front desk. If you're a business owner, if you're a developer, if you're doing a home project, you're going to be dealing with community development. You're going to be dealing with risk reduction.
If I wanted to volunteer for the city or with the city, how do I do that?
One of the great things about the area here, Northwest Arkansas, Rogers, is a lot of people are really involved in their community. And that means volunteering. If you are just interested in serving in a department here in the city, you're not really sure where, a great place to start would be to call City Hall. It's 621-1117. We have an excellent constituent service liaison named Kay Ricker. Talk to her and she would be able to talk with you, see what your interests are, and get you plugged into the department that would fit best.
That would be awesome. Okay. So what about job opportunities?
Again, City of Rogers looking for excellent talent all the time. Our job opportunities are found on our website. That's kind of the easiest, best, most up-to-date way to find our job postings. You can also, if you want, again, come to City Hall, kind of the hub for things that are going on here at the City of Rogers. You can come here. We can discuss, show you the options that are available. Paper applications can be turned in here as well. So it's definitely, you don't have to turn in an application online if you'd prefer to do paper.
Okay, we're here in the city council chambers. This is awesome. If anybody ever wanted to come, can just anybody come to a city council meeting? Absolutely.
City council meetings, they're one of the many public meetings that the city has. And so pretty much you can just come and you don't even have to register or anything. It's possible. You can call City Hall ahead of time and, announce pre-register that you're going to be here. But that's pretty rare. People don't do that very often. So, I mean, the city council meetings happen every second and fourth Tuesday. And so at 6:30.
6:30.
So if you're interested in coming, just show up at 6:30. There's a time for you to speak if you wanted to speak towards any of the items that are on the agenda, or if you just wanted to come. A lot of people just come and they just want to be part of hearing.
And what do you have to do to become a city council member?
So city council members, they're voted at large. A lot of people don't know that. The city is divided up into 4 different wards, and there's 2 council members for each ward. So this whole thing, there's 8 council members. When we, as residents of Rogers, vote for those council members, we're not voting just for the people in our ward. So if somebody if somebody is up for election in Ward 1, the entire city is voting for that person. Yeah. Terms are 4 years for city council members, and 1 representative for each ward is up for election every 2 years.
Okay, I was going to say they stagger.
They stagger the representation from each of the wards every 2 years. So if you're interested in being a city council member and you wanted to run in the election, that process actually starts with Benton County. So the Benton County clerk office, they actually regulate all of the local elections. And so you'd actually have to get in touch with, it's actually available on their website, all the regulations and rules details and how you can get started in saying, you know what, I do want to be a city council member, and I want to run for that. And so you have to go through that process, and then you can, get your campaign together and run. And you do have to live in the ward. Even though we're all voting for everybody, you do have to live in the ward that you're
running. Okay.
Yeah.
Is there anything else that happens here in the chambers besides city council meetings?
Yeah, I mean, there's other public meetings that take place here. So planning commission takes place here, and that happens the opposite Tuesdays. So the first and third Tuesdays. A couple other public meetings take place here. I think the Public Arts Commission takes place in this room. Other one, they're just a little bit smaller though, so a lot of them don't use this room. And sometimes just larger this is our largest meeting space here at City Hall. And so a lot of times just meetings that aren't necessarily public meetings.
The mayor wasn't available at the time of filming, but he did want to say a few words about what makes Rogers great. Here's the mayor.
Well, my favorite book, that's a hard question. Clearly, I think my preacher would like for me to answer that question as the Bible, and probably in truth it is, though I'm probably not as well read as I should be. But right now, currently, my favorite book is called Gatekeepers by Chris Whipple. It's a book that's centered around the chief of staffs for different presidents throughout the history of that role, and it's a really interesting read. Wow. Well, it sort of depends on the age of the asker. But I would say in general, if you were to cross span from 5-year-olds to 80-year-olds, it's most generally, what is the job of the mayor and what do you do? I think that's the fair question that I get from a lot of adults, that particularly given that we live in Northwest Arkansas, one of the fastest growing MSAs in the country. Clearly, there's a lot of people that are moving here from all over to the United States and other countries alike. And so recognizing that there's a lot of different forms of government, a lot of the folks from the Northeast that move here, they want to call me when we close schools because they think that the mayor runs the school district, which is the case up in the Northeast in many cases, clearly not here. And then also, a lot of these folks are used to coming from cities where they have a city manager form of government instead of a strong mayor like we have here. And so in those, they're used to the mayor being the ribbon cutter and showing up for parades, and that's pretty much the extent of their role. And in Arkansas, more often than not, other than 4 or 5 cities, we have strong mayor council forms of government. So the mayor is not only the sort of day-to-day, the CEO of the working side of city government, but is also performs that ceremonial piece as well. And so that's a fair question that I think, that people ask. But it, it is, it's, I don't know. It's an interesting job. It's one that, as many years as I was on the city council, for 12 years before being elected mayor, I would have told you that, I knew 99.9% of the job. And while I knew a lot, I'd still say there was a couple point margin of error in there that even I had to learn. That's a really good question, and psychiatrists would probably like to be fascinated to dig deeper into that. No, so this started with me at a very young age. I was fortunate enough in high school to participate in what was then called Student Government Day, where not unlike student council, you ran a campaign on the campus with posters and bribery with candy and whatever you could to get votes. And I was elected mayor, which meant that I would serve as mayor for the day alongside our former mayor, John Sampier. So I did that. It was extremely fascinating. I didn't know that much about local government at the time, what senior in high school does. But I don't remember saying it, but at the conclusion of that day, the former mayor recalls me telling him that he should brush up his resume because I was going to have his job in a few years. I don't argue with him about whether or not I said that or not. I just don't recall saying it. But that really was the start, I think. And then not just 4 years or so later, I was 22, I guess. There was an opening on the city council, and I was a young entrepreneur, owned a real estate company here just a block away, and decided I was going to run, and ran in a 3-person race. And one of the guys in the race had been on the city council for a number of years previously, and was fortunate enough to get elected without a runoff. I got 56% of the vote that night, and just a couple of years after that, I started a career in law enforcement, and that was in large part based on the idea of wanting to be the mayor someday, and recognizing that unlike Cousin Eddie on vacation, you can't hold out for the CEO position, right? You got to have a job and learn the job to get a bigger one. And so I had worked at a golf course during my teen years and wrecked several front end loaders and large equipment. So I wasn't going to go work for the street department. That wouldn't make a career out of that. But the law enforcement was probably the best way to really know a community. I mean, I've been in the living rooms of the smallest, most dilapidated structures, and in the McMansions. And so I think that that decade of being in law enforcement probably gave me the best perspective to carry into this job. And so that would lead you into what is the best part about the job. The best part about the job is that, unlike Little Rock or DC, where, they're up there squabbling about whatever it is they're squabbling about, and half the time not getting anything done. But even when they do get something accomplished, the effects of what they do may not be felt for years to the constituents that they serve. In city government, the decisions that I make today could affect your life tomorrow. And so because of that, I think it's the most important form of government is your local closest, form of government. And it's also different and unique in that I remember I had a congressman ask me not our congressman, but a congressman. Well, a couple of years after I got elected, I was in D.C. and was meeting some folks. I think he was from Arizona, Anyway, he said something about, how often do you hold town hall meetings? And I said, I've never had a town hall meeting, nor will I ever have a town hall meeting. And he just thought that was, astonishing. I said, look, I have a town hall meeting every time I go buy a gallon of milk. I mean, I can't, unlike folks that go out to DC or Little Rock, I'm here all the time. So everywhere I go, get your hair cut, go to the doctor's office, buy a gallon of milk, I'm having town hall meetings with my constituents all the time. And so that's probably the best part about the job, is that you get to interact with the people that you're serving, and you get to see real time the results, good or bad, but the results of the work and the decisions that you make.
Now, there's a new app. Do you want to tell us about that?
Sure.
City app?
Yeah, absolutely. So the app is called Rogers Connect, and it's a very useful app, and kind of hoping that more and more Rogers residents will grab a hold of it. The main function of the app is for reporting concerns. It's a map-based app, so it's easy to get on there and say, oh, I see a broken traffic light, or I see a pothole, or I see there's whatever you might say, a stray dog or something. I mean, whatever you might see, it's easier to just kind of drop a pin and say, here's where it's at. So that way, once the concern goes in and it's routed to the correct department, the department also gets with a map, an online map, this is exactly where it's at. And then they get to follow up with it. And then there's actually an opportunity for feedback, asking follow-up questions, status reports that go back and forth between the department and the person that issued the concern.
Cool.
Yeah.
Okay.
So that's kind of the main function. But just to also point out, there's other functionality within the app too. So there's links to do things as simple as like ordering your Rail Yard Live tickets, or finding out information about the Inform Rogers project that's going on. So there's other stuff that's in there too, available on iPhone and also Google, the Google Play Store.
Okay. All right. Well, thank you, Peter. I think that just about covers it. So We're done.